Okay, so today's webinar, Getting Down to Basics, Making Windows 10 Work for You. Generally speaking, I like to do computer webinars and not psychology ones. But this one, I have to start out with something called attitude. And one of the very first problems we have with Windows 10 is that we have certain attitudes towards Windows 10, either preconceived ideas or maybe we've worked with Windows 10 a little bit. And here are just some of these attitudes that we come up with. Windows 10 is too difficult. I've heard that from some people. The truth is, it's not. Windows 10 is way easier than Windows 8. Windows 8 was a fiasco in trying to learn how to use it. Windows 10 is very smooth, especially compared to 8, but otherwise it pretty much is on par with Windows 7 with some changes, but it really is not too difficult. So if you're of the mindset that Windows 10 is too difficult, I'm asking you to be open-minded and change that thinking, because it really isn't. The second attitude that I hear is everything is different. Well, you're going to see in just a little bit that actually is not true at all. Everything is not different. And we'll talk about that in some depth here in a minute. The third is people say, I hate change. Well, change is a little difficult for all of us, some of us more than others. But the truth is, if we didn't open ourselves up to change, we'd still be running around in horse and buggies. Yes, change is something that we all face in life, and it's very true in computers. But again, referring back to number 2, where I'm telling you that everything is not different, maybe the change is not as big as you think it really is. And then here's an attitude we hear sometimes: it was better before. No, it wasn't. Windows 10 is absolutely the safest operating system that Microsoft has ever produced. In many ways, things are much easier to do than in previous operating systems. It was not better before, believe me. Definitely better than 8, but it was not it was not better before. I promise you that's the truth. And then the last one, the attitude that I'm going to mention today that I hear from people is, I'm too old to learn a new operating system. Well, again, that is an attitude that you may have adopted, but it isn't true. My dad, of course, you've heard me talk about him before, and he just passed away recently. But my dad, he got a new computer when he was 97 that had Windows 10, and he learned that in a relatively short period of time. And, he had some of the issues that a lot of us do, memory issues and things like that, but he kept at it, and he learned Windows 10. So you're not too old to learn it. Might take you a little longer. You might have to write notes down, whereas before maybe you would have just remembered it, but you're not too old to learn it. So those are some attitudes, and I'm asking you, if you can relate to any of these attitudes, please be open-minded, and I'm going to try to change your mind today on these attitudes. Okay, so what I want to talk to and start with is that second attitude that I gave was that everything's different, and that is not true at all. In fact, in reality, very few Windows processes are different now than they were in Windows 95. In fact, I'm thinking of writing a book. Everything I need to know about Windows, I learned in Windows 95, because there are so many things that they are not any different. For instance, cut, copy, and paste. That's exactly the same as it was in Windows 95 and every version of Windows. That didn't change. How you name or rename a file or a folder, that hasn't changed, not at all. Drag and drop, to move files from one drive or one folder, that has not changed. And the great majority of the keyboard shortcuts, they haven't changed either. There are some new ones with Windows 10, but the basic ones have remained the same. And the truth is that I could just go on and on and on naming Windows basic functions that are no different than they were in 95. They work exactly the same. Now, where the issue comes up for some people is that in some cases, how you get to the function looks different. And that's what throws people off. But the function itself works exactly the same as it did in Windows 95. You just might have to get to it in a different fashion. And we'll look at a few of those things. So what I've done is I've come up with, I'm going to call them work hints. And I have 6 of them for today. There's lots more we could have, but these are some basic ones that I want you to learn today if you don't know already. And if you do know, then it's a good review. So the first work hint I have is use the right click. Now, if you've known me for a while, if you've attended seminars and other webinars, you've heard me say this a million times, but it's really true in Windows 10. The most powerful thing in Windows 10 is the right click. As the right click has really been one of the most powerful functions in all previous versions. But the right click in Windows 10 can bring you back to some things that you're very familiar with, even though they don't look like they're there in Windows 10. So, so here's an example. You can right click on the start menu. All right. Now, here is a picture of the start menu. And the first thing is sometimes people say, where's the start menu? Well, the start menu is on the taskbar. And if you look, I'm going to draw a little circle around. Hopefully you'll see it. There's a little icon that looks like 4 window panes. All right, that is the Windows icon. And you probably have that on one of your keys on the keyboard. But when you see that, that is where the start menu is. Now, instead of left clicking on it, if you right click on it, you're going to see things that you're familiar with from before, from previous versions. Like here's the control panel. Very easy to get to the control panel. If I right click, I can pick it. I can do search, I can do run. You might want to go and look at power options. It's right there, like when to change the monitor from going on and off, or when the computer goes to sleep. In previous versions, other than 8, you know, when you clicked on the start menu, like control panel was on the right-hand column. And some other things may have been there. Well, now if you right-click, you can get it. And here is one of the most powerful things on the right-click that people don't realize is there. Here's something that happens. We'll have someone who calls us on the phone, and they'll have some problem on the screen. And I'll say, why don't you log into us? And they say, I can't get to the icons. I can't get to your 4K CC calling card. If they can get to the start menu, you can right click on that, and right here it says desktop. If I click on that, it will bring me to the desktop regardless of what's open. So that's a great thing. And just to show you here, on my machine, I'm going to right click, and let me get you to a different, like here's something that's open. And if I go to that and right click and go to the desktop, you see it brought me to the desktop. It will close whatever windows are open and bring me to the desktop. So that is a great option with the right click on the Windows Start menu. And there are other places which we're not going to go into right now, but there are other places where you can use the right click and you'll have functions very similar to what you're used to before. Learn to use the right click. It's a very powerful tool. Okay, now The next hint, work hint number 2, organize and use the start menu. Windows 10 has an awesome start menu. And I'm going to show you, here is a screenshot of my start menu. Now, I want you to notice some things. I created these various areas. For instance, up here you can see me circle MS Office. So right there, my Microsoft Office programs that I use the most, that isn't all of them. These are the ones I use the most, these 6. They're in their own little section of the start menu. All I have to do is click the start menu, and then I can click on Word or Outlook or whatever I want to open. Here's Adobe. Okay, right here there are 7 Adobe programs. These are the 7 I use the most. They are not all that I have, and I'll show you here. We'll go here. And if I go to all apps, you can see under the A here, Adobe Acrobat, that's the first one. And when I go all the way down to here, Adobe SpeedGrade, those are all Adobe programs that I have on my computer. All right, that's a ton of them. But again, what I've done in the start menu is I've put the 7 that I use the most so I can get quick access. And then I have other categories, and the great news is with the start menu, you can make the names whatever you want. Like I've called this news and weather, news, weather, and money. You know, there's different things that I've called. So like here's news, weather, and money. I have games and music, photo related, online stuff. These are all names I've given, note and other utilities. You create them, you organize them. One of the problems I see is that people get Windows 10 either as an upgrade or as on a new computer, and you don't do anything with the start menu. And there's all kinds of stuff on there you're not going to use, you don't want to use. The start menu is a great tool. Now, we have a webinar just on the start menu. It actually is the first webinar we did on Windows 10, and it was how to organize the start menu, how to change the sizes of the tiles, how to organize the left-hand side, how that works. And what you should do is, if you haven't watched it, you should watch that webinar. If you've watched it before, you should watch it again. And the way to get to that webinar, there's a couple different ways. You can go to 4kcc.com/webinars and scroll down to August, I think it was 25th of 2015, and you'll see how to organize the start menu. You should watch that. If you've watched it a long time ago and you've forgotten it, go watch it again, because this is a great tool in Windows 10. All right, so we're going to move on now to work hint number 3. Understand the difference between a local account and a Microsoft account. This is very confusing to people. So in earlier versions of Windows, up until Windows 8, unless you were on a work network, every version, every account in Windows was a local account. But starting with Windows 8, Microsoft introduced the Microsoft account sign-in, and as opposed to the local. So here's what a Microsoft account sign-in allows you to do. It allows you to get apps from the store. Now, for those of you that use Apple products like the iPad or the iPhone, okay, you cannot get an app out of the App Store from Apple unless you have an Apple account. They won't let you do it. Well, this is no different. This is not something Microsoft just came up with. Apple's been doing this for years. If you want to download an app, even a free one, onto your Windows 10 machine, you sign in with a Microsoft account. The next thing is, if you use Cortana, if you want to use Cortana, then that's another thing. That's another thing that you need a Microsoft account for. And we're going to talk about Cortana in a minute or two. if you want to sync your settings across computers, if you have more than one computer and they're both running Windows 10 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of them, you can sync your settings. That's a great, I have like all these computers, you know, we have like 6 of them in the shop. I can go to any one of them except Joyce's because that's hers, but any of the ones that I have a login and everything is synced across. It's awesome. It's a great tool. You can use Xbox to play music and games by signing in with your Microsoft account. You can use OneDrive to save files in the cloud. Lately, OneDrive just did an update, so we've had people logging in who they don't even know what OneDrive is. And you know, they get this window that says you need to update OneDrive, and they're like, I don't even know what that is. OneDrive is awesome. Again, especially if you have more than one computer, you can save files to OneDrive, and then you can access those same files from all your other computers. And it's really awesome. Now, there's a caveat with Windows Microsoft account. And here's the caveat. If you use a Microsoft account, you must sign into your computer with your Microsoft account password. You must. Or you can create a PIN. However, you still have to know the password because you can't create the PIN without the password. The PIN simply makes it simpler because you can enter like 4 numbers and log in. You know, we'll have people come in with a Microsoft account and they want to use some or all of these things I've just listed, and they say to us, I want you to take the password off. The answer is we can't do it. If you want the Microsoft account, you have to have the password. We make a big deal out of it. I have a very complicated password to log into my computer, but it's no big deal. I log in with it whenever I want. Now, if your computer is going to sleep and requiring a password too often, that's a setting and that can be changed. Okay, like in my case, I usually log into my computer one time for the day. Then if I am going to be away from it and I don't want to leave access somewhere, I can lock it. Then I do have to put the password in again when I come back. But generally speaking, I put my password in maybe once a day, twice maybe. Okay, so if you have a Microsoft account, just know you're going to have a password. You have to know it. You have to use it. You can substitute a PIN, but if you want to change the PIN, or there are a few things, including us, remote, that we still need you to put the password in and not the PIN. So that's work hint number 3. Work hint number 4, learn to use search and Cortana. Cortana is just absolutely an awesome addition to Microsoft Windows. On the screen right now, you see a picture. This is a list of Cortana tells you in a list, here are the things I can help you with. Now, you do have to have a microphone for Cortana. So if you have a desktop and don't have a microphone, you got to get one. Okay, you can't talk to Cortana unless she can hear your voice. And by the way, Cortana can also be a man's voice if you want it. So for you ladies, if you'd rather hear a man instead of a woman, it can be changed. But here are the things. You can add and remove things from your calendar. You can set reminders. You can set an alarm. There's all kinds of things that you can do. You can have it open apps and do other things. And so I'm going to give you an example right now of a couple things with this. First of all, I'm going to talk to Cortana. You won't see me talking to her, but there's a little button, and you can see that on the screen there's a place for a microphone. I can click on that and then talk to Cortana, and I'm going to ask her to define the word beautiful. So hang with me. You will not be able to hear her on the webinar. I can, but you won't be able to hear her, unfortunately. But I'll tell you what she says. Define the word beautiful. Okay, so I asked her to define the word beautiful, and here's what happened. You won't see it, but here's what happened. I'm going to show you a screen capture on the screen. And this is Okay, this is beautiful. I'm sorry, I'm one ahead. This is for, I asked her to ask me for appointments for tomorrow. What she did was the same kind of screen comes up, and she actually defines the word beautiful. In this case, what you do see on the screen is I had asked her what's on my calendar for tomorrow. What are my appointments for tomorrow? And she says, you don't have anything scheduled for tomorrow. Yay, it's Saturday, we can relax, except we're open 8 to 12. So you can ask her some other things. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask her to open the task manager. Open the task manager. Now, if you look on the screen, you see that she opened the task manager. Now, what you could not hear was when I said to her, open the task manager, she replied to me and said, sure, opening the task manager. Okay, so she did open the task manager for me, as you see on your screen. I'm going to ask her to open the control panel. Open the control panel. And now you see on the screen that she opened the control panel. Now, first of all, this is kind of fun, but here's the other great thing about it. If you are a one-finger typer, or if you have trouble typing, there are so many things that you can have her do, that you can have her look things up on the internet. You can have her set alarms and do other things. I can ask her, like we have our kids, of course, we have one set of kids in New Jersey and we have one set of kids in Austin. And I often will ask her, you know, what's the weather in Austin, Texas? And she will say to me, I can't really show you because you can't hear her, but she'll tell me what the weather is in Austin, Texas. Cortana is a great tool. You can search for things on your computer using Cortana. Now, if you don't want to use Cortana herself, you can click on the search bar and you can type in what you want. So you can type and ask, you know, to find something on your computer, or like for instance, if I want to find msconfig, I type that in, and at the top of the list it shows me system configuration, and I now could use that app. So you can type if you don't want to talk to her, or if you don't have a mic right now or whatever. But being able to talk to her, she's very interactive and she keeps getting better and better. Microsoft keeps improving her. And I'm just going to tell you this as someone who has a Microsoft phone with Cortana and someone who has an iPhone also with Siri. Cortana far outshines what Siri can do. And that's also true on a computer. What she can do on a computer is awesome. So it's something that if you're not using it, you should look into it and start using it. Okay, along with search, I had to go back with one more attitude that I hear from some people. And people come in and they say, I hate Bing. Okay, Bing is built into Windows 10. Bing is Microsoft's search engine. Now, I have to tell you right now that I do use Google search a lot, but especially lately, I have become more and more concerned about what Google is doing with my search results, about the privacy associated with it. And I also like Bing for a bunch of reasons. And many times, what it returns in a search is actually way better than what Google gives you. So I would say to you on that, try to be open-minded a little bit about Bing and let the searches and things happen in Bing and start to use it. Like the sign on the church outside the local church here, Google doesn't know everything. And it doesn't, and neither Bing doesn't know everything either, but Bing is actually an excellent search engine, and there's nothing wrong with it being built into Windows 10. It's a Microsoft product, so of course they're going to, build it in. Okay, we're running out of time. It's almost 10:30 already, but I'm going to try to push here just a little bit. Work hint number 5, learn to use virtual desktops. Now, virtual desktops are actually something called task view, and I'm going to try to show you here that if you look on the screen, down at the bottom, it went away. I'll see if I can bring it back for you. Now, we'll do it this way. We'll switch to a different window. And here down at the bottom is an icon that says Task View. And when you click on that, it will show you what's opening on the desktop. And I have 3 desktops open right now. You can see them at the bottom there. All right. The great thing about this is if I go to desktop number 3, I could have this Excel spreadsheet open, and maybe this is something I'm going to work on over a period of time. But I want to be able to do other things, but I don't want to have to close it or minimize it or fool with it. So with virtual desktops, and there are keyboard shortcuts, which I'm using, that's why they're switching so rapidly. I can use those keyboard shortcuts, and I can go to another desktop. I could go to this desktop and open Google Chrome as an example. Okay, or I could go to Bing. So there's your Bing. And again, this is on a totally separate desktop. So just with a few keystrokes on the keyboard, I could switch back and forth between my Excel spreadsheet, between my Bing and whatever else I was doing, and even a third one. And the truth is, you can have almost as many desktops as you want. It's kind of a cool feature, and you should learn to use it. Once again, we have a webinar on using virtual desktops, so you can get a whole 30 minutes of learning how to use virtual desktops if you go to 4kcc.com/webinars and scroll down to the webinar near the bottom about virtual desktops in Windows 10. Work hint number 6, and this actually relates to our webinar from yesterday. Do not install software to speed up your PC or to update your drivers or to clean the registries. Now, this holds true not only with Windows 10, but any version of Windows that you're running. Do not install that stuff. All it's going to do is slow it down, cause problems, have you update things that don't need updated. Please, I'm begging you, keep that stuff off of your computer. No software to speed it up, no software to update drivers unless it comes from the manufacturer with the computer, and no software to clean the registry. Okay, the last thing is our next webinar, our June webinars. We're going to be announcing those very soon. So look in our blog or Facebook page or question of the week. I can already tell you what one of them is going to be. We're going to talk about making a mirror image of your computer and how you can use that in case your computer crashes. Okay, so Joyce has given me a few questions. One of the questions is, how do you move an icon you use most often to the start menu? All right, here is the answer I want to give you for that. You should watch the webinar on the start menu. That's really what you need to do, because it will give you all the details on how to do that. Okay, but I will take a minute and show this because it's not that difficult. So let me switch to a different desktop. And if I go to the start menu, okay, let's say that I wanted to put some program on the start menu. For instance, Google Chrome is not on the start menu. I could go to all apps. I can click and find Google Chrome. If I right click on it, I now can left click Again, right click, remember, very powerful tool. I can left click on pin to start. And now it pins it on the start. Now I can move this wherever I want it. If I wanted it with online stuff, I can move it there. I can also resize. I can resize it to small or medium, and some will let you resize to other sizes beside those two. But that's how I got to it. I simply found the app under all apps, and then I right clicked and put it on the start menu. But please, you really need to, and then if I want to remove it, by the way, I just unpin it from the start. So please make sure you watch that webinar if you have questions on the start menu. The next question is, can you sync your cell phone and iPad with the computer? And the answer to that is the Microsoft answer. It depends. Okay? The answer is it depends. If you have, when the question was, can you sync your cell phone? If you have a Windows cell phone, it's no problem to sync it with that. Okay, if you have an, let's say an iPhone, then you have to install the iCloud service on your Windows machine, which I do have on mine. So you know, my phone syncs with my computer. The same pictures that are on my phone are on my Windows computer under the iCloud. You know, the same documents, they all sync. The same thing would be true with the iPad. That would also work with the iCloud. With the Android, there's other software you would put on to sync with Microsoft Windows. Now, the sync isn't quite as fast as it would be if you had a Windows phone, but it still works. It works great. The other thing is OneDrive. You can get OneDrive for the iPhone and for the Android, and if you're syncing, you know, different documents and pictures on your computer with OneDrive, you can also find them on your phone, iPad, whatever, Android device, if you're running OneDrive. Whatever is in OneDrive on your computer will be in OneDrive on those devices. So the answer is yes, you can sync it. And how you go about that can be, you know, there are different ways, but yes, you absolutely can. And the last question that we have is somebody asks, how can I start Windows 10 right now? I assume you mean how can you install it? Remember that for people that are running Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 8.1, Windows 10 upgrade is free until July 29th. After that, it's a paid service, and it's $119 for the upgrade. The easiest way to start it now is if you're a remote technical support customer, you can log into us, and we have a little program that we can install, and we can start it for you. We do that Monday through Friday before 12 noon because the installation can take some time. Otherwise, if you are eligible for the free upgrade and it just hasn't started yet, you can just also wait for it. Okay. Now, one last question. Somebody asked, where is my computer on Windows 10? There is no actual My Computer. Down in the taskbar or also on the Start menu, if you bring the Start menu up, you'll see File Explorer. And if I click on that, that will bring up the File Explorer, and that is what we used to really call My Computer. And you can have different views, like right now in this view, it shows the desktop, documents, downloads, music, pictures, videos, and it shows the different drives. Now this is actually not the default view. I changed it because I prefer this view. But the normal view, like if you just upgrade to Windows 10, I'll show you the view you normally get. You normally get the quick access view. Now I have to close it and open it again because I changed the view. And now this is the quick access view. This shows frequent folders at the top, and then it shows the last 20 recent files that I've used. Okay, so I don't really care for that view. I care for the view more like the my computer view. So you can change that, and I know I'm going a little fast here because we're pretty much out of time, but let me show you. You would go to View, over here under Options, Change Folder and Search Options. I click on that. Open File Explorer to, I'm changing that to this PC, which is the same as my computer. Okay, that's why I told you it's still here. It's just not there if you don't change the view. So now I change it back, and this is my computer. In the left-hand column, you know, are all the folders that you're normally used to. And of course, I have Dropbox, I have iCloud, I have OneDrive, I have something called O Drive, all that stuff. And then down here's the normal desktop documents, the C drive, the D drive, my network, my home group. But over here is what you would consider my computer, which shows the actual drives and the main folders that we're used to. So I think that's going to be it for now. We've finished all, I hope I've answered all the questions. Thank you very much for attending today. Just keep in mind that there'll be a follow-up. You'll be able to watch this. So once again, thanks for taking time out of your day, and I hope you learned something. And mostly I want you to make sure that you realize Windows 10 is the safest operating system. It's one of the easiest. The basic things have not changed. So if you had any of those attitudes that I had at the beginning, please be open-minded enough to realize that though most of those attitudes are not true. Okay, thanks. Have a great day.